Think you're packing smart for your next cruise? You might want to double check. Some everyday items can actually get you stopped at security or even banned from the ship. Let's go over what not to pack, what's changed this year, and some surprising things people have actually been caught with. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. Now, cruises are different than other types of vacations, certainly different from going into a hotel or even hopping on a plane. And some of the things that you cannot bring on a ship will surprise you. Now, there are some recent new additions to this prohibited items list, as well as one subtraction. Now, consider this your ultimate guide. But before I get started, I did want to mention that if you like this video, if you find it helpful, informative, or enjoyable in any way, then please do give this video a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let's get started. Now, by the way, to keep this organized, I have this list separated into categories. So let's start off with electronics and devices that can get you in trouble. Number one, Bluetooth speakers. Now, not every cruise line has banned Bluetooth speakers, but Carnival Cruise Line has. So Bluetooth speakers as well as boomboxes are not prohibited on board Carnival cruise ships. However, on most cruise ships, the rule still is that if you do bring your own personal speaker, that you do play it in your cabin and that you do not disturb other people. Now, there has been a recent addition, and this is Royal Caribbean, that on their private island, Perfect Day at Coco Cay, they've been advising cruisers that as they get off for the private island, that Bluetooth speakers are not permitted. Number two, a surge protected power strip. Now, you know that power strip that you might have at home that you can plug in a few different outlets? Well, you cannot bring that on a cruise ship. Now, most cruise ships will allow you to bring a non-surge protected power strip. So this is one that is cruise approved. However, over the last few months, one cruise line, Royal Caribbean, has banned even these. Now, what can you bring on board on Royal Caribbean in particular? You could bring a multi-outlet USB holder, but you are going to have to leave, unfortunately, those other cruise-approved power bars at home. Number three, extension cords. These are banned or at least frowned upon on most cruise ships. Now, I do have a little bit of a tip if you need an extension cord. Now, in particular, this is for people that are CPAP users, and usually you're going to need distilled water as well as an extension cord for your cabin. Now, if you do need this, what you can do is fill in a form on the cruise line website, or you can ask your travel agent for some assistance to getting in touch with the cruise line for you. And you can also call the cruise line directly. Now, in some cases, they're going to provide an extension cord for you, or in other cases, they're going to grant you permission to bring yours on. Wi-Fi routers and Starlink minis. Now, if you thought that you could bring this on board and get around the pricey cruise ship Wi-Fi, unfortunately, this cruise hack is no longer going to work. Over the last few months, major cruise lines have updated their prohibited items list to include this item, which they say can interfere with the ship's navigational systems. All right, now let's talk about baby monitors and some good news for parents if you're sailing with Royal Caribbean. While Royal Caribbean added baby monitors to its prohibited items list just a few months ago, recent reports have indicated that they have since removed it. Now, I did a check myself, and indeed, baby monitors is no longer on the list. Gaming consoles. Now, here's a new one, at least for me. Recently, Carnival's ambassador, John Heald, was asked about gaming consoles and why is there no HDMI port that cruise passengers can plug in their own gaming systems, well, to enjoy that in their cabin. Now, on Carnival cruise ships, the HDMI port is disabled, so you're not able to plug in any gaming system, much to the dismay of some cruisers. However, when I did look through the prohibited items list of the official websites of major cruise lines, I noticed that a variety of gaming systems are not allowed to be brought on board. Now, I have to say there are so many things to do on board, and this is not ever something that I would think to bring, but when I did do a search, I did find that there were many people that were asking about this as well. So please let me know if you were able to bring a gaming system on board. If you would, please let me know down in the comments below. Safety and security items. Now, a lot of these are no-brainers, but still they are going to surprise some. Weapons, ammunitions, and restraints. Now, surprisingly, there have been some people over the last couple of years who have been caught bringing weapons. It's very, very rare. And ammunition on board or even in cruise ports of call. And honestly, you can have dire circumstances for this. There have been some people that have been arrested in cruise ports of call and detained there. Now, beyond the obvious, some of the items that you are not able to bring on board include self-defense items like pepper spray, brass knuckles, and handcuffs, even if it's just for fun. Personal heating devices. Now, I get a lot of questions about this. Sometimes people say, can I bring my electric heating blanket on a cruise ship? So no, you are not able to do this, and it's because it is a potential fire hazard. But other items that you cannot bring on board as well include a travel iron and a clothes steamer. Now, it seems like cruise lines are always adding to this list, including small appliances. So some other things that you cannot bring on board include a kettle, a coffee maker, or even a rice cooker. Walkie-talkies. Now, people used to bring walkie-talkies before people used text messages or even the cruise line apps to communicate. And it's not that it's not done anymore, but it's certainly very rare. But if you do plan to bring walkie-talkies, make sure that you do check your own cruise line's prohibited list. While most cruise lines do still allow it, Norwegian Cruise Line strictly forbids it and says it can interfere with the ship's communication systems. Food and beverage restrictions. And by the way, I am going to talk about sneaking alcohol on board a cruise ship. Homemade and perishable food. So if you think, you know what I want to do is maybe I want to make some homemade muffins for some of the crew on a cruise ship, or maybe you want to bring some of your own baked goods to enjoy in your cabin. So no, you're not able to do this, unfortunately. Any perishable foods are not allowed to be brought on board, and typically crew wouldn't be able to accept homemade food from guests either. It has happened apparently that in some cases in the past they have gotten sick. Now, while I did mention that you cannot bring homemade food on board, if you do want to bring snacks like candy or chocolate or other packaged goods, you are able to bring that and enjoy it in your cabin or even bring it with you into the port. Hard alcohol and spirits. Now, while most cruise lines allow passengers to bring 1 bottle of wine per person with them on embarkation day, and in some cases, small amounts of soda for personal use, what you are not allowed to bring are any hard liquors or spirits. Now, this is not a new rule, and anybody who's been cruising for a long time knows that there's a little bit of a subculture of sometimes people trying to sneak in alcohol in a variety of ways onto the cruise ship. But with the rise of social media, well, I guess it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, because sometimes people are sharing their tactics as to what has worked, including some products that you can buy on Amazon to sneak some of this in. But on the other side, there are people that are sharing this, and cruise lines are getting wise. In fact, Carnival ambassador John Hield shared that they now have people that are monitoring social media platforms, and they see the people that are bragging on TikTok about the variety of ways they were able to sneak alcohol into their cabin. Now, by the way, this is against cruise line policy, and it is in the cruise contract. However, in the past, typically if somebody got caught, they would usually need to go down to the naughty room, and alcohol would either be confiscated and given back at the end or disposed of. However, in a recent Facebook post, John Hield shared that if you are caught, you could be banned from sailing with Carnival ever again. Now, in my opinion, this is definitely not worth it, but please let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Clothing and decoration surprises. Now, let's start off with the door decoration. Now, I'm not talking about pineapples. I will bring that up in just a moment. But I'm talking about one that definitely surprised me when I noticed it on the prohibited items list. Balloons. You are not able to bring balloons on a cruise ship. Now, if it's somebody's birthday or an anniversary and you want to decorate either in your cabin or in some cases on your door as well, you can do that, but you could bring some paper decorations or some streamers instead. All right, let's talk about cruise cabin door decorations and some do's and don'ts. Now, firstly, cabin door decorations is definitely something that you will see on a lot of cruise ships. Now, in particular, very common on Carnival, very common on Disney, and pretty common on Royal Caribbean. And it's not to say that it doesn't happen on other cruise lines. It's just a little bit less common. However, something that you should know is Norwegian Cruise Line technically, according to the rules on its prohibited items list is that door decorations are not allowed. Now, in practice, I've sailed on Norwegian Cruise Line even recently, and there are definitely some people who do it, but do be aware that if you bring them for your cabin door, you may be asked to take them down. Now, what about the upside down pineapple? Well, it turns out that on Carnival Cruise Line, they have officially said they do not want to see upside down pineapple door decorations on the cabin doors, and if they are found, then a crew member will remove them. Now, for those of you who don't know, the upside down pineapple is a symbol for a lifestyle, if you know what I mean. And while it doesn't necessarily mean that if you see this, that is what's happening in that cabin, it has been in recent years a little bit of a joke that people play. And what Carnival says is this is a family-oriented cruise line, and this is not something that they want to see. Curtains, drapes, and hanging room dividers. Now, this is another cruise hack that has been popular, especially for families. If you have 4 people in the cabin, sometimes what people would do is they would bring drapes or maybe a shower curtain and some magnets to actually divide the cabin. However, according to the prohibited items list on Carnival's website, you are no longer allowed to bring these. Now, by the way, while most of the items that I talk about in this video are universally not allowed on all cruise ships, there are some items like that one that are specific to individual cruise lines. So before you do go on your cruise, if you are not sure, be sure to check on your own cruise line website's restricted items list. Camouflage clothing. Now, did you know that wearing camouflage clothing in certain cruise ports of call could get you turned back to the cruise ship, fined, or even arrested in a cruise port of call? Yes, there are cruise ports or countries that your cruise ship may be visiting that it is illegal to wear any form of camouflage in the cruise port. Now, this includes popular Caribbean cruise ports like Jamaica and Barbados, so be sure to check before you go. Sun, sand, and sea bands. Oversized pool floaties. Now, you would think you're going on a cruise, there's going to be a pool. Why can't you bring floaties to use in the pool? Well, most cruise lines do not allow this. Now, in part, it's because, let's face it, the cruise ship pools are on the small side, so they really wouldn't have a lot of room to fit these. But this doesn't mean that you can't bring inflatable floaties to use on the private islands or the beaches in port. And by the way, if you're cruising with children and you want to use a life jacket, that should usually be permitted. But it's also good to know that many family-oriented cruise ships are going to have small life jackets that you could use on the cruise ship as well as on their private islands. Reef harming sunscreen. Now, the typical sunscreen that you might use on a cruise ship or at home may be banned in some of the different cruise ports of call. For this reason, it's a good idea to bring reef-friendly or reef-safe sunscreen if you are going to Aruba, Bonaire, Hawaii, the US Virgin Islands, and more. And by the way, if you're heading to Mexico, there are some protected areas as well. Other prohibited items that you might not expect: CBD and any cannabis products. These are banned on cruise ships even if this is legal in your state or your home country. Now, this is taken very seriously on cruise ships. You may find that there are sniffer dogs, and you could be denied boarding if this is found on you before you go on your ship. And by the way, for anybody thinking that you may want to sneak in some gummies, best not to do that either. There have been people that, when found out, they've been kicked off the cruise ship. And even one case where somebody decided to hide a banned substance within their Skittles, and they were found and actually arrested before they boarded. Drones. Now, this has changed a lot over the last couple of years, but there are still some restrictions. Now, if you do want to bring a drone on a cruise, the rules are going to vary, but one thing remains is that on any cruise ship, you're not allowed to fly a drone from the cruise ship, neither when you are sailing or when you are in port. Now, policies on bringing drones can change, so be sure that you do check your own cruise line website. However, something to know is that Carnival and Royal Caribbean do allow people to bring them on board. However, they do say that they have to be kept and stored in your stateroom while on board. And Disney Cruise Line has an outright ban. Now, when it comes to the cruise ports of call, it's really important that you research what the rules and regulations are about flying drones there and you adhere to them. And something to note is that if you are going to Royal Caribbean's Perfect Day at Coco Cay or other private islands, you are not allowed to fly your drone there. Candles and anything with an open flame. So if you wanted to bring candles or incense to use in your cabin, you absolutely are not able to. And of course, what you can bring are those little tea light candles if you want an alternative. Now, I am going to leave the list of prohibited items linked down below in the description of this video in case that can be helpful. But I'd love to hear from you. Please let me know if you've ever had any items confiscated on a cruise. Please let me know down in the comments below, as well as any questions that you may have. Now, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give it a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Bye for now and happy cruising.